What is a double supply chain attack? Cisco routers are being hit with attacks and hiding malicious apps from view. All that coming up now on ThreatWire. Greetings, I am Shannon Morse and this is ThreatWire for April 25th, 2023. This is your summary of the threats to our security, privacy, and internet freedom. I have big news. If you have not seen recent ThreatWire episodes, I'm about to hit 100,000 subscribers on my main channel, which is youtube.com/Shannon Morse. You can help me hit that goal by subscribing to my channel, where I post tons and tons of security and privacy content. But let's go ahead and jump right into the news this week. A supply chain attack on a VoIP or voice over IP provider called 3CX happened last month, but details are still emerging about the consequences of this attack. Now, we learned that North Korean attackers from the hacking group called Lazarus allegedly were able to target 3CX installations via a previous supply chain attack. ESET just published a report as well showing that Mac and Linux users are being targeted by very similar malware, with attackers sending fake job offers via LinkedIn using accounts that were set up to look like executives at companies, but were actually completely fake. Now, they got these users to download malware, which in turn infected Linux-based users, which ESET reported was also the first they've seen Lazarus targeting this operating system. Now, the attack on the VoIP company affected about 600,000 3CX business customers with 12 million users total. Mandiant, who was hired by 3CX to investigate this breach, found that the compromise actually started back in 2022, and it is the first time the security company has seen something like this happen. See, what makes 3CX hack unique is how it actually started. An employee had downloaded an installer called Xtrader from a stock trading automation company, which is called Trading Technologies, which was laced with malware in their own compromise in a separate supply chain attack. Now, that deployed Veiled Signal, which is a modular backdoor used by the attackers to inject commands into infected computers. That supply chain attack led to this supply chain attack, so it was a double supply chain attack. That employee's credentials were stolen, and that led the attackers to hacking 3CX. Now, the 3CX malware looked for commands from the attacker-controlled server, which would respond with a password stealer called Iconic Stealer. 3CX has advised customers to uninstall the Electron desktop client and switch over to their web application instead. But now that we know the 3CX attack happened, we can tie it to other attacks as well. This is way bigger than we originally thought. The Xtrader supply chain attack also affected critical infrastructure orgs in the US and Europe. Symantec published a report detailing more information on how the attack happened and explained that to date, they have discovered 2 energy sector orgs were also hit, along with 2 different orgs in the financial trading sector. Now, given that this information is new, we are likely to see more victims come forth as more investigations take place and are linked to these original ones. If you have a Cisco router, patch that thing ASAP. According to the UK's National Cybersecurity Centre of GCHQ, the US Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, the NSA, and the FBI, the Russian state-sponsored hacking group called APT28, or Fancy Bear, is targeting Cisco iOS routers with custom malware called Jaguar Tooth, which targets a known and already patched vulnerability. Now, this is a very old flaw in SNMP that has been patched for about 6 years, tracked as CVE 2017-6742. It allows for remote code execution attacks. It's used to steal information from the router and set up a backdoor, and data is stolen via TFTP. It's not persistent though, as it injects itself right into the memory. Now, APT28 is able to find vulnerable routers by scanning the internet for any devices that match specific strings of code. The attackers access the devices via this flaw, then install the malware. That allows them to access local accounts. Now, Cisco recommends users and admins update the firmware and switch from SNMP over to NetConf or RESTConf for public routers if remote management is absolutely necessary. The company also recommends restricting SNMP access if it needs to be enabled. Biggest of shout outs to my Patreon supporters, especially my golden s'mores and their fur babies, for making this show possible, since we do not have ads on the show at all. And a big thank you to Adam, Minnie Moose, Brian, Veritanuda, and Nunction for being a part of the s'mores over at patreon.com/Shannon Morse. That's my new Patreon page for the show, where I will be posting all of the perks for patrons, including early access to this very video. If you are currently a patron on the ThreatWire page over on Patreon, switch over to the new one so you don't lose access to your perks. Let's go ahead and finish out today's episode with my last top story, all about GhostToken. Ooh. Shout out to Joel for sending over this story for ThreatWire. Google's cloud platform had a vulnerability that could allow an attacker to install a backdoor on a user's Google account via a malicious OAuth application. Asterisk Security explained in a public report that they have dubbed this flaw GhostToken because of how the malicious application could hide itself from a user. The company first disclosed the issue to Google in June of 2022. They found that a malicious application could be given permissions access to a Google account via its OAuth token, but an attacker could make the application invisible from the user's application management page, which happens to be the only page where users can manage app permissions and revoke them as necessary. The vulnerability in the GCP could allow an attacker to hide the app, then unhide it, and use the OAuth permissions to access the account. They could then hide the app again, making it a ghost token. Hiding malicious apps is apparently quite easy. The attacker would just need to delete the linked GCP project, which puts the app into a pending deletion state, and restoring the project means the app would receive a new access token. The data accessed would depend entirely on the app's permissions, but it could include things like Gmail access, Drive files, photos, your calendar, etc. GhostToken was mitigated by Google via a patch rolled out in April of 2023. Now any app's pending deletion will still show up on the app management page, so users can actually manually revoke them now. I'm Shannon Morse, and I will see you on the internet.